bevo.com.
Daniel, the US voted for Barack Obama over John McCain to become the CEO of the USA, or the president of the country. But what leadership lessons can we learn from his presidential victory?
Given the importance of fear on the one hand and hope on the other, how might that relate to the decision, the hiring decision, if you will, to select Barack Obama over John McCain as the CEO, as it were, of the country? We had a very large hiring committee involved, and a lot of people to sway. And I think the reason Obama won was because of his mode of handling the financial crisis. He embodied the ability to stay calm under pressure. He showed us that he could be cool in crisis. And that is an extremely important message for people, because in crisis, everyone looks to the leader to get a sense of how should we be reacting. And if the leader is panicking, then why are we going to stay calm? But if the leader is calm, cool, collected, focused, and Obama was, then we feel confidence. We feel there's someone steering this ship that knows how to get us out of this trouble. And the critical point came in the US election just when McCain and Obama were neck and neck in the polls, and then the financial crisis hit, and all of a sudden McCain lost it. One day he said, I'm going to stop campaigning, I'm going to go to Washington and solve this problem. He did, he flew to Washington, nothing happened, didn't make any difference. Obama said, if you're president, you should be able to do two things at once, campaign and handle a crisis. He kept going on both tracks, and you could tell just by seeing him, he actually was calm. And that was a very reassuring message. And what that means also, and I think people sense this intuitively, is that people who do stay calm under crisis can use their cognitive abilities better because of the way the brain is designed. In crisis, when we're distressed, when we're anxious, that activation actually handicaps the thinking brain, the cognitive centers that help us pay attention, stay focused, take in information, understand it, respond well. And Obama showed us that he had that capacity. And I think that's why Americans then shifted, and he won basically in a landslide after that.
And do you think his external calmness was a real reflection of how he was feeling on the inside? Or do you think he was acting it because he's read your books?
I doubt that Barack Obama has read my books, although I do know people who know him well, and they say he's always been like that. He has that capacity, and I think he's going to be a very good chief executive.
Daniel, and the ability to be able to operate calmly in a moment of crisis, is that something you're born with, or can you acquire that through learning?
Well, the question is, what makes a person able and capable in crisis to stay cool? Is that just something you're born with, or is it something you learn? And to some extent, people are born with a given temperament. And the work of Richard Davidson, we go over this in the conversation I had with him in the Wired to Connect series. He says there are three kinds of emotional differences that you see in people, stylistic differences, that show up pretty much from birth. One is that some people are very quick to anger or anxiety, and some people are very slow. Some people experience their distressing emotions with very, very, very strongly. Some people don't experience them that deeply, rather lightly. And then the third is some people take a long time to recover, stays with them, 2 in the morning, they're still thinking about whatever it was that upset them. And other people are able to drop them pretty quickly, just to let it go. And someone like Barack Obama is someone who doesn't get very anxious very quickly, doesn't seem to be very anxious, and seems to be able to let it go. Other people could be quite the opposite. So that's a temperamental given. Part of it. No emotional capacity is entirely genetic nor entirely learned. Any emotional competence is both a given and learned. And in fact, most of emotional intelligence abilities are largely learned and learnable. So someone who does have a temperament where they get more anxious and takes them longer to recover actually can retrain their brain so that they develop the capacity to manage their distressing emotions better. And one of the key elements is being able to monitor your emotions, to be mindful of your emotions. So Davidson has done a lot of work now with training people, for example, in a very high-pressure biotech startup company. He had someone, John Kabat-Zinn, who's a world expert on mindfulness training, come in and teach people a simple practice of developing the capacity simply to observe what's going on in your mind without getting caught up in it, swept away in it, or reacting or judging. Just knowing. And that meta-awareness, this capacity to hover over what's going on, is the critical step in managing it. Because if you see what's going on, then you can take steps to change things for the better. And in fact, it turns out that merely getting into that hovering position in the mind starts to short-circuit the emotional distress. So that's a critical ability. And what that does is help us distinguish between our awareness of the emotion and the emotion itself. If we don't have that awareness, then it's just going to sweep us away.
Bevo